Hey, hey. This one's going to be a good one. Lots happened in the past month or so. If you didn't already know, welcome to the Ironman Ramble videos. My name is Vatti, and I do these every month. So I just record rambles and see what happens. I have a few topics I want to cover while I do my herb run in the morning. I just woke up. I have actually terrible hay fever, which is really annoying because I basically sound and look like a 5-year-old who just finished crying. Like my nose is completely distraught. My eyes are just gone. There's snot coming out my nose right now. My voice gets a lot deeper, but I guess it's only a good thing. So maybe there's costs and and failings to it, but in general it's a negative. So I got this like giant air filter. It costs like 130 quid. That's mainly because like what the air filter actually does, it just basically takes all the air and just like sucks it in and like fucks with it or something, and then puts it out, and it's like completely pollen free, dust free, like bacteria free or whatever. I put that in my room and it's like super helpful. So I really would recommend one of those if you're having trouble with your sinuses in the morning. Mainly my hay fever is basically just, it is what it is. I'm allergic to the outside, especially during the summer. So I get kind of get locked in my room unless I really have to go outside in the summer, which is not always the best, but there we go. At least I get to play more RuneScape and other video games when I'm kind of forced to stay inside, in my bubble of a room. Anyway, so yeah, I'm just on my herb run at the moment. Yesterday when I was streaming, it occurred to me that, well, when I was gearing up for my herb run, people were quite impressed in how I did it, and it occurred to me that not many people. This is something I can talk about while I'm on herb run before I get to my bank. Not many people take into consideration like the tiny amount of time saves that you do because when you do a load of things over time, like herb runs for instance, I'll probably have to do just under around 10,000 herb runs or so, like give or take. I'm going to be doing a lot of fucking herb runs. Like, just like probably not even 10,000. I don't even know the actual number. Just imagine I'm doing 10,000 herb runs. Every tick that I miss is just like confounds itself and times itself by 10,000. So the more time I can save gearing up for a herb run, making sure it's the same route every time, making sure I save every tick I can, over time that's going to add so much. Like I'm going to save so much time because this is something I'm always going to be doing. So I'll do my tree run now so I can keep going with this type of conversation. Let me just put all this in here. So yeah, because you do things so often, like things like this for instance, like I know exactly what I'm doing. I think my spirit trees are done. Let me check my runelight. Runelight plugin is fucking OP, by the way. That's not done yet. My hardwoods aren't done yet, so everything else is fine. Okay. So I just checked it. Hardwoods are done in on next Tuesday, I think. And then spirits are done tomorrow. Anyway, because you're doing this so often, it gets to a stage where you really need to think about if you're wasting seconds. It's like 10,000 seconds. It's a lot of time. It's like a couple of hours, like three hours or so that you could just save if you worked on the way you re-gear yourself, the way you use your bank tags, and over time, that's really going to save a lot of time. So that's probably something I would recommend looking into, like really getting your re-gearing out, really sorting out how exactly you gear up for a farm and how exactly you do a herb and how exactly you gear for a particular event or a particular skill that you always go back to. Slayer, for instance, is like if you know the task, like how long do you spend at the bank re-gearing as opposed to actually killing the things that you need to kill? How much time can you minimize being at the bank or depositing things? So for example, I used the deposit box at Camelot as opposed to teleporting to Castle Wars from my house at Zora, mainly because I'm way faster at depositing with the deposit box, and I kind of timed it. Just in general, where's the fucking, there she is. So in general, no, I still want to pay. There you go, thank you. it just saves me time, and it's something that I've thought about for a long time. I teleport to the wrong place. Very nice. Yeah, speaking of wasting time, teleporting to the crafting guild instead. Mouse accuracy is another thing, but you know. Also, does anyone else just audibly say K whenever they press K to come here? Because I always do that internally, but that's kind of cringe. Never mind. Forget I said that. Anyway, so yeah, just things like that, right? Especially, and another thing which relates to a future topic in this video is birdhouse runs. So we're basically on like the 16-year plan for birdhouses, to where like we basically do birdhouses into 200 mil, or mole just isn't relevant anymore already, which is a shame. I don't mind mole. I have 3,000 mole, and I think we're just going to stop there and round it off and never go back again. Mainly because I've started doing Volcath for my Slayer. Mainly because I've started doing Slayer, to be honest. And you just get so many fucking nests from there. You don't really need that. Plus, you get loads of nests from the birdhouses themselves, and you get pretty comparable farming XP anyway. So just things like that. Ever since Volcath came out, the whole shit's just been shaken on its head. And in fact, we're currently working on EHP rate changes to Ironman. Whether they get uploaded to CML or not is a completely different story, given who owns the platform and who is also a member of our community. They don't necessarily get along, but hopefully it all works out, and we'll have like an updated version of Ironman, because they are outdated ever since Volcath came out. No one sat down and really calculated how completely broken Volcath Slayer is, and I'll just say this is completely broken. So yeah, there's that. Unfortunately, you're gonna have to be killing the blue dragon for at least 200 mil cooking. You get the grapes for that, and then anything after that is you just spend the normal blue dragons, because you know they're just straight prayer XP, and it's really sick. So yeah, it's just broken, and prayer's broken. GP gathering's broken. Fletching just got a lot cheaper as well. That's something most people didn't really consider, actually. Like, we don't really have GP problems anymore if you do Volcath Slayer, which is hard to comprehend really, given how GP centric most of our methods were. For example, we did a lot of blood rune crafting at Stronghold. We didn't do souls, even though they were faster XP technically, because of the GP that you would get from bloods, right? Now that Volcath's in the game, you don't even need to consider doing any bloods anymore. In fact, the EHP change that we're proposing to make for rune crafting is to have it be Zaya library, which is quite shocking. You'd probably spend all the pure essence you get from Zora and raids at ZMI or lavas, depending on how quickly you want to do it, but probably at ZMI. Actually, no, probably lavas, because you can just buy all the runes with Volcath GP, because again, you have infinite GP, pretty much. But then you just do Zaya library, because it's like 70k an hour if you do it properly. Nice, it survived. So it's just a couple of changes. I'll go through all of them after I go through the other topics, but for now, you're gonna have to watch me do some much needed crafting, because I have 143k sapphires and 42k emeralds I need to go through. So while I cut these things, I'll be able to talk to you about exactly what I want to talk about. Actually, what I want to talk to you about is in my bank. So I finished Bandos, and I'm very happy that I finished Bandos, because what allows me to do is slay in style. Even though this absolutely was not worth it whatsoever, I'm very happy I actually did it. Bandos is quite cool. I really got the mechanics down. I did the mammal method, so I just hit twice around under, but also incorporated the pool method, where you take the first hit with a crystal shield, and then you swap for your second hit to your defender, and then when you walk under Bandos or Growldor, you equip your crystal shield again. So you're always taking the range hit that he throws out at you with the crystal shield, so you have higher range defense, but your second is always more accurate. So it just adds a bit more consistency. It also allows you to bring a Ring of Suffering for more defense, really. And I used shoutouts to Gherkins as well, and the OSRS Gear Discord, because they have pretty much every best in slot set up for that type of thing. I took some inspiration from that and just kind of saw what I was doing from there. So big shout out to everyone who PVMs, and I just kind of leached their methods basically. I got my Bandos boots at like 121 KC or something, and then I went like 455 dry for Tassets, so I got like 500 or something, and that was painful. I was like, where the fuck is my item? I don't like this boss anymore. But there was like a as soon as I got to like 400 dry, I just kind of got back into it. I did just grinded out the kills, and I got a pair of Tassets, and I got another pair of Tassets 9 kills later. And then I got the chest plate, like another 70 kills later. So I'm at 641 or something at the moment, and yeah, that's pretty solid. Will I ever get a hilt? I might go back for a hilt one day if I'm feeling particularly wanting of a spirit shield, but there's nothing particularly immediate that I need to go for there. Because again, you don't really need the cash, the white berries or whatever, and then any of the supplies from Corp is just like, yeah, you may need that for the spirit shields. And I wouldn't go for a sigil, I'd just go for a blessed spirit shield because I kind of like the look of that item a lot more. So there's that. Let me just cut some emeralds because I can talk about the next thing that I have from this month. A lot happened this month, as you can probably tell from the link for this video. Foreshadowing. I got Dex Scroll. Yay. It's no surprise. If you know me, you know how much I hate Raids 1. You know how much I hate Chambers of Zerek. It's like, well, compared to what? Compared to every other WoW dungeon and raid that I've ever done, that is just so much more superior in terms of content net. I come from an MMO background where there's been incredible PvM encounters, and WoW just like RuneScape, just specifically OSRS, just doesn't really compare in terms of PvE content. There are like solo bosses which I really like, but any group based content I feel like isn't the type of like content that appeals to me. I'll say that first and foremost, and then I'll say I don't think it's designed very well with that group concept in mind. Mainly for two reasons: just design failings in general. Specifically in Raids 1, scouting is the biggest issue in Raids 1, and the main reason why I don't like Raids 1 is the incentives to scout, the incentives to waste time looking for looking for a good raid before you go in, as opposed to it being balanced around you being able just to go into any setup and still be roughly pretty decent, and then disincentivizing you from scouting. So for example, if you go in and out too often, then you can't go in for like 5 minutes or something to disincentivize scouting. I think that'd be a shit update to put in because the community would hate it. But I think that would disincentivize scouting to make that content a lot more mechanically balanced. But you also need to rebalance all the rooms which people are missing. Like there's a reason why a lot of people are skipping these rooms, because they just on a whole don't like them. And the way that the pugging community kind of works now is like, we don't want to do this room because it's too difficult to do in an uncoordinated group. So you kind of have to either make your own group and say, hey, we're all not scouting, we're just going to go in no scout raids as a group, or you go in solo no scouting. But you can't do that as an Ironman unless you have particular gear such as a twisted bow to make things way easier. Although you could do it with like crossbow and shit. I'm not good enough yet, I'll admit that, at Raids 1 to do that, and I'm just disincentivized by the feel of the content, the way just the way it rubs me the wrong way, that type of thing. I'm just not particularly a fan of wanting to learn that. It's especially helpful in Solid, and maybe I would have a different opinion if I didn't get Dex at 17 KC. The first couple of raids that I did, like the first 12 raids or so, were quite fun. I did them in trios with like two like people who really knew what they were doing. Got Preserve and that was fine, which I still use today. But I didn't really get any items. And then I went on a raid with Zuknok, and the first or second raid we did, we got an ancestral top, but he got the top and he just gave me bonds for the split. He kind of scammed you on that split, to be honest, because that's worth like 112 mil, and if I had like an ult or something, then that would be something that I would get the split for. But it's fine, he's a main, and this is my only character, and I don't really care about GP from there, so bonds were sufficient really. And then I did a couple raids with a guy called Tenhu. He's a Finnish Ironman. He's very good at the game, or he's learning raids or something. You can all the sirens if you can hear them. And he brought in this person called Muggle. I don't know who they are, but apparently they're like an Oblivion member or something. I don't know. And then Tenhu had to leave, so it was just me and Muggle, and we did one duo, and that was my 17th raid, and I got Dex. I had I had lower points. I think we both died once. It was just a scuffed raid, but Jagex decided just to end my misery of how much I hated that content and just give me the best thing I could get from there. So I'm done with Raids 1. I'm never going back. Even though Dragon Hunter Crossbow is technically, mathematically worth getting. The carrot math we're thinking about at the moment in terms of EHP rates for Vorkaf at least is it'll take you around 500 KC with 30,000 points per raid with 2 raids an hour to get Dragon Hunter Crossbow, and that seems about efficient. So if you're willing to do that, sure, but I don't. 2 raids an hour, it's 250 hours. Like I don't want to spend 250 hours in that piece of shit content. It just rubs me the wrong way. It's designed wrong, and I feel the biggest personal gripe I have with Raids 1 is how the community rates it is like a pinnacle of like PVM content. Like I feel like the community as a whole, or just the general feeling I'm getting, I'm not sure if anyone else shares my opinion about how bad I think Raids 1 actually is. In terms of design and the randomized generation of the layouts and the fact that you can scout for your own specific layout. Om's okay, but then some of the bosses people just don't do because they're too hard to pug. And even if you go in a group, you're incentivized to scout because it's easier to scout when you're in a group because you have multiple people scouting. And if you solo and scout, then shit, you need to alt, so you need to pay for extra membership to efficiently scout, or you get other people to scout for you. It's just like it's all centered around scouting for a good layout to get, and then because they're just easier rooms with better points, and that's just how it's incentivized. It should really be balanced, not around like points per room, but like amount of rooms you do, your death count, time done. That should be contributing factors towards kills, towards loot, as opposed to like just raw points. I feel like the loot system's pretty bad in that sense. Like the faster time you do it, the more. But then you probably be incentivized to do shorter layouts, and you probably have to balance the rooms out to be around the average time, right? Because some bosses are just going to be. Or like you can have like a set like 2 bosses, 2 skillings, and then 2 puzzles or something. I just had that be like Raids 1, and it randomly generates those type of bosses, and you get supply chests after every 2 rooms or something. Kind of like how Raids 2 is right now, which I really like. I really like Raids 2. But something like a rejigging of how Raids 1 should have been. I feel like should be somewhere around Raids 2, just like a lot more flexible, a lot bigger, a lot more vast of a place, because fit the thematic, the narrative of Theatre Blood versus like Chambers of Xeric. Chambers of Xeric is like a massive cave. Theatre is like a building, so you kind of need to scope it a bit. These type of things. These are all things that I feel like should have been considered with the design of Raids 1, which I don't think were, and that kind of makes, in my eyes, Raids 1 be like a very just poor piece of content. Just so much missing there, and again how praised it is. So. Yeah, that's my Raids 1 rant. Anyway, I got this on 17 KC. I did one more raid just to see what would happen. I got a Dark Orb for my Herblore. I'm like, okay, cool. And I'm never going back. So that means that I'm gonna have to kill a lot more Zora than most other people for all the scales I need for Vorkaf. But I don't really care about that. No, that's fine. I don't mind about that. I don't mind Zora. Let me open my Discord, because if you've seen my last video on the Fall of Erudite, I think that's what I titled it, you'll know that I'm in Omnia now. I'm actually in Omnia. I tweeted that Omnia is the #1 Ironman skinning clan in old school RuneScape, and I think I was lying actually. Dr. Zoidberg CC is the #1 Ironman skinning clan. As you can see, we have the 2 best Iron Men in the game, myself and one Twink Stomper. Watch out for Twink Stomper, he's coming up. He's a new kid on the block. He's just grinding out his blowpipe right now, and expect big things from Mr. Twink Stomper in the future. I heard he's an associate of Mr. Dr. Zoidberg, and he's a big fan of Dr. Zoidberg. So if you want to hang out with me on a casual, then join the #1 Ironman skinning clan, North Screamscape Geezers. Anyway, so we've joined Omnia now, and we have our own Ironman channel, which is just hidden to Iron Man only. And if you don't have to be a member of Omnia to join this channel, the Omnia Discord is public, and just even though the Iron Man channel is in the members only text, if you talk to Fraser, because he's the guy who kind of staffs like this channel. If you talk to him, he sent out a tweet, so just like replied to that tweet saying, hey, I want part of this community. Because what we're doing now is Tenhu, the Finnish guy I mentioned earlier, and Heiger, rank 1 Ironman, they did a lot of calculations in terms of new HP rates. And I'm just going to grab the spreadsheet now. It's the pinned message. Thank you, Fraser. Let's pull it up. Hopefully it doesn't fuck up. Yeah, it did. That's very nice. So I have it here. Hey Ninja, I was watching Ninja stream. So we have the HP rates here, and here are the suggested changes. So we've got prayer at 140k. That's definitely needed because we get a lot of prayer from Vorkath now. We use all our bones on the altar. Plus, if we keep doing the community prayer events that we did, we can definitely get over the HP because we just like take 500 bones with us and protect them. So that should be fine. Crafting to 85k. I'm not sure what it is at now, but everyone who's trying to find alternatives to charter ships, I'm sorry, but it's just too good to like, in terms of like powering through to, you know, consider anything else. And being at 85k is fine, even though we get a lot of supplies from Vorkath and things like that. It's probably not worth calculating. We don't do battle staffs aren't worth it anymore. Because you don't need the crafting XP, it's a waste of time to try and make the orbs, and you get so much GP from Vorkath anyway, you don't need it. You get overcrafting XP from all the Vorkath that you'll be doing to 200 mil cooking anyway, plus all the hides that you get, plus green dragons, plus blue dragons in general. Yeah, it's just not really worth doing battle staffs anymore. So I've stopped buying battle staffs now, and my GP is slowly climbing, which is good. Herblore down to 40k. Our 50k estimate was kind of high. And Heiger did some herb calcs to kind of find out the total amount of herbs that you'll on average get from basically every source in the game. So let me just pull that up. So Dagonoths plus Mole, although you don't really do much more anymore. Bird? I'm not sure what bird is. Bird's just like, I'm not sure if you get herbs with birds. Oh yeah, no. I know what it is. Kingdom raids, if you do them. Zora. None from Herbivore. Herbivore isn't worth it anymore because we just do a lot of birdhouses. In general, the priorities for doing Hunter will be birdhouses, and then black chins, and then Herbivore, and red chins. So if you wanted to specifically train Hunter, that's the order you want to do it in for now. And keep in mind, this is all like 200 mil talk. So yeah, Hunter that would then be changed to 215k an hour. So that's black chins with no ult. Farming would be 1 million an hour because of the seeds that we're getting, which is cool. Slayer would be 115k an hour, and what that change is for from 40k is just really taking into account all of the materials and GP and prayer XP and all that other shit that you're getting from Slayer. Like, because we can't calculate that into other areas, we're just putting that all to Slayer. So the amount of time, so the space that the time you've taken to get 115k Slayer XP is really worth like that amount. Basically, it's just worth so much. So we're putting that all into Slayer, and that it works out fine to where if you get 200 mil all, then it works out the amount of hours that you've taken to actually do it because of all the supplies you get from Slayer. So all the herb and things like that. So yeah, we've taken it all out of Herblore, just whacked it all to Slayer because you slay for all that stuff, so it needs to reflect it. Construction at 200k, and woodcutting at 200k. So construction at 200k is, let me check, 1.5 tick mahoganies. So at the Fossil Island, 1.5 tick stuff where you plank make as well as you run back to the bank. It's just crazy. And woodcutting is 1.5 tick teaks. So as soon as you get all the mahoganies you need for construction, you'd probably take out all your mahoganies and just plant teaks. It's probably going to be something most people do when they're done with farming, because hardwoods are pretty good XP just to have. They probably contribute to the 1 million HP change because you just get more farming XP per hour now. So there's that. Cooking 250k, so just back to wines. Nothing else really compares. Oh, no, that's not wines. There's Crumber Shop plus 1 tick. That's interesting. Although I'm not. I know why they put that there. It's because you get all the grapes from Vorkath anyway, and that's probably almost for 200 mil. But if you wanted to power out cooking, then that's what you would do. You do Crumber Shop plus 1 ticking the ones. So, and here's the big one. So we're now changing rune crafting to 83.6k an hour, which is the library method, which Wooks made like a couple of months ago, using the RuneLite plugin and all this other stuff. So I don't like the method. I won't be doing the method, but that's probably that's the fastest method. It probably should be put in, and that has a bit of Hunter XP as well, which is good to have. Agility would be swimming. Well, you do like 2,000 hours of Vatti to get all the max grace you need for the Aventos. Then you go swimming, and safing with thieving. Thieving's now 39k an hour, which basically means that all the gems I got aren't meta anymore. So swimming was meta. I did gem nights for no reason. I should have been swimming. I missed out. La da 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 da. You know, it's just those type of things. It's fine. It's fine. But I guess I get to have all these gems and get high crafting for now at least. So I'm gonna have overcrafting XP and it's whatever. Like this probably means I probably should be stop cutting these gems and do something else at the bank, like I don't know, wines or something. But hey ho, it's fine. It's fine. So yeah, that's all the new HP shit, and hopefully we'll be able to get all this through. If you wanted a more deeper look into the spreadsheet that we have, message Fraser on Twitter, and Fraser, and he'll be able to get you into the Ironman community. So they have going on that erudite is gone. So a few more things to touch on. So I've been playing a lot of World of Warcraft recently, and I was streaming last night, and so Thursday, and I forgot we had beta testing. So we were testing the last 2 bosses for the first raid in the new expansion, which comes out in 2 months, and I really enjoy it again. Like I got back into my flow. It was very easy to pick up. I had no add-ons, which was shit, but I felt quite comfortable. All the bosses seemed very easy, very basic, but it was just heroic mode, not mythic. So you kind of expect that. But I was quite fascinated how quickly I picked up on little intricacies, which whenever I was beta testing back in the day in World of Warcraft, it would be really hard for me to understand exactly what I was meant to be doing at the time. I'd watch someone else and I see what they were doing in the fight, because usually by the time we got to a particularly hard boss for my class mage, someone else would have killed it and released a kill video, so I'd be able to watch what they were doing, and that's how I kind of improved my gameplay in Mr. Pandaria and Warlords of Draenor. I just kind of watched what other people were doing, but the more we progressed, the more cutting edge we were, so I had to kind of innovate my own methods. So most of the kill videos that I released back in the day, and they're all hidden on my alternative YouTube now, so you can't see those. You can find them if you know where to look, but they're around. If you know, you know. But yeah, most of those I just kind of innovated myself, and that was quite cool. And I thought I would lose the ability to do that ever since I stopped playing 18 months ago. Like I stopped playing World of Warcraft in November 2016. So no, November 25th, was it 2015 or 2016? I can't remember. And then I came back for the start of Legion. So yeah, I think I stopped playing in 2015 because that's when I started uni. Yeah, and then because I didn't feel like farming Hellfire Citadel, I just didn't really bother. I came back for Legion because that was fun, and then I just quit right before Emerald Nightmare because uni started again. But now that I'm finished uni and I've got a bit of time before my master starts, then I'll be fine. And I'll see if we're able to get like a strong balance between World of Warcraft, RuneScape, and real life stuff. We'll see how it goes. I'm quite confident I'll be able to do it. We'll just see what happens, really. But yeah, I'm really enjoying World of Warcraft, and if you haven't already, I'd probably recommend picking it up. I know a couple Ironman who are WoW vets who share the same opinions to PVM that I do, who are also going to be playing World of Warcraft when it comes out. They'd rather play a better PVM game than this game, because there are others out there you just need to know. Whenever you, again, just going back to the raids and what shit, whenever you're praising particular content, you need to ask yourself, compared to what type of content? Are you comparing it to other old school content? It's like, yeah, that's cool, it's probably better than that. But if RuneScape's the only game you're playing, you're kind of missing out in terms of being able to have a more detailed opinion on exactly the quality of the content. So diversifying your game knowledge and kind of understanding what the genre is doing in terms of content, dungeon content, PVM content, 5-man content, flexible content, solo content, these type of things. Like, for example, Infernal was like fucking sick, because most solo content I've experienced, either in single player games, single player RPG games, or in World of Warcraft itself, or even in RuneScape with bosses that you just solo, Infernal's fucking sick, and I can see that. I can tell that from right away. Solo raids, again, not so much. There's just a big difference there. It's not as, you know, pressurized or intense or demanding of you. There are a few mechanics in my head I'll probably list out in an alternative video about like ideas just for PVM. Like, I'll probably write down most of the mechanics I liked in World of Warcraft and see if they can transfer into RuneScape stuff, but I doubt it, mainly because of the combat engine. It's quite limiting. But although I really do appreciate the extent to which they're pushing what they can, like, the mechanics they can actually do in terms of things like line of sight, stepping, like everyone had, like for the last boss of Fear to Blood, I don't know what, I can't remember her name, but there's like these yellow pools you all have to stand on, and it's quite coordinated. You have to like soak a particular ball, and once you get hit you need to run out. All these type of things, the web going clockwise, counterclockwise, and not getting stuck, and these type of things, they're really pushing the edge in terms of what they can actually do. What I think they should really focus on in particular, and what I think most people really like in terms of feeling about the skill of PVM, is prayer flicking and gear switching, and like combat style switching. The spider pillar boss in Fear to Blood, I think really illuminates that. Olm kind of missed that, where, you know, you have some switching. There's like this method that YP does, which is fucking sick, where you like mage the hand, swap to melee, hit the hand again, swap to mage. Like, it's just fucking sick. Like, you can do that, and that's cool, but it's not demanded of you. There are easier ways to do it. If there was a piece of content which demanded of you to have like 6 like 8-way switches, and you had to do it, otherwise you died, like, yeah, cool, that'd be sick. Another thing about Fear to Blood which I'm interested in, which they probably should have done in terms of loot. I feel like most of the issues in terms of PvP content is how loot is like dispersed, by the way. But that's just another topic for another video. One thing they should really look at loot is death thresholds. So you couldn't get certain items unless you were immortal. So back in World of Warcraft, and especially this is specifically in Wrath of the Lich King expansion, Blizzard played around with this concept called the Immortal, where in every raid apart from the last one, they had an achievement and a reward if no one in your raid died and you cleared the whole raid on the highest difficulty. And that really it wasn't as toxic as it sounds, because like if someone died for that, because it was on a weekly lockout as well, so you only had 1 week to try it, so you do 1 attempt a week. So like the pressure was so high, but the notoriety you would get from being in that particular run was so sick. So they later changed it, so you had to so the achievement was you can do it over multiple weeks, because you personally only had to not die on that boss. But that was kind of bullshit. The Naxxramas version, which is why it's called the Immortal, is because the title you got was called the Immortal. No one could die throughout the whole run, and I feel like we were on like a 25-man run, and we got Kel'Thuzad down to 14%, and someone died, and that was it. It was game over, and it's like, fuck, dude. It's so much pressure just not to die. So with like a death-centric, like permadeath style content, they really should have played around with how death works in that sense, to where like if you died at least amount of times you get better loot. I think that's probably one of the things. But in terms of unique rewards, some things are like if you die 0 times, you can only get this item on a chance if no one dies in a raid. Like that should have been like if no one dies in a raid, then there's a higher chance for a pet, for example. So if you're just going for the pet, then you want to be in runs with like when no one dies, and if someone dies, then like that's really shitty and you're kind of losing on you. So like there's more pressure not to die, obviously, because yeah. So I mean, I'm guessing the loot's surrounded around death, because death's the main mechanic, but they really should have put a threshold on it anyway, especially on pets as well. Last but not least, just IRL stuff. I finished my degree. I graduated on the 25th of July. I got a 2-1 for my final degree. I got like a 64.4 or something, which is like a pretty decent mid 2-1. But as most of my adult friends who have like PhDs and like work and shit, they all got 2-1s, and it's fine. Most of them got like 66s and 65s and things like that, so I'm not particularly worried. Over the course of the summer, I need to do some writing. I need to apply for some scholarships and jobs and things like that, just to get some money, because I can't study without money, unfortunately. Or no, fortunately, because it gives me an incentive to work and pressure to succeed, which is always beneficial. So there's that. There's not much going on around at the moment. It's been pretty chill, actually. I'm just kind of sorting my life out a bit more. The one thing I do need to do, I put out a poll on Twitter like a month ago or something, or a couple of weeks ago, about the next video, the next type of depression video I'd make, and the title that I gave the video that won is "Jebram is right." And I was going to say this at the start of this video, of the video I'll make. I don't know when I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it over the summer before I start uni. So give me like a couple months or so, just to get inspired to finish it, because I know exactly what it's going to be about. And it's going to be quite a short one. It's going to be like 14 minutes maybe. It's quite funny how I just put Jebram is right, and then everyone voted for that one. No one knows what. I haven't told you what I think he's right about. And I've told a few people, and they like the idea of the video, but I haven't told you exactly what he's right about. And it's quite interesting how polarized, or like how infamous of a character he is in the community, where like if you just see Jebram is right, you're like, yeah, fuck, I want to see what he's right about. Everyone's curious, so that's quite funny. So I'll script that video and get that video out soon. I'm gonna see how it goes. But until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next month. That was. Enjoy that 35-minute ramble, and I'll see you next time. Join Omnia TC for an Ironman, by the way, because we need more Ironman. By the way.